Welcome back to the test driven development playlist. In the last video we learned about AAA pattern. Today we're gonna move forward, understand mocks and Stub in testing. Two tools that make our testing much easier. I promise after this video you will be never afraid of mocking again. Let's start with a very simple scenario. Imagine you have a function that depends on a network call, that depends on local database operation. If you run your unit test cases, should it call the real database? Should it call the real internet? Should it rely on the real clock? Of course not. Test should be fast, predictable and isolated. Here comes mocking and stubbing in the picture. So first we'll try to understand stubs and then we will try to deep dive in mocks. So for that I want to create here a package within my main, or you can say within our production level code, and we call it part third. And in this part third we have two things. We have a user repository interface function get a user name. A return type is a result of type string. Within this same package we have get user name use case, and this particular use case depends on our repository. Operator function invoke use my repository get username. Now we shall proceed with unit testing for this use case. Within our unit test directory testing course package, create a package naming part 3 and we shall begin with our testing. Get user name use case unit test. Use your test annotation. Function should return correct result when get username is called. So I'm gonna accept this suggestion. Now we'll use your AAA pattern. First one, arrange, act, assert. So in the arrange we will create our repository because our use case depend on this repository. Oh wait a second, we cannot create an instance of our user repository. Here we use stubs. What are stubs? Well, stub says I will return you fixed fake value when you call me. That means we shall write here user repository implementation. So user repository implementation, and to be more specific I'm gonna call it success implementation. Use your user repository, override the function and return result.success Himanshu, which is fine for me. Use your repository success implementation. We have our use case get username use case pass your repository. So these are the components that we want to proceed with our testing. So in the action we'll use our use case, invoke it, it will give back the result to me. Perform the assertion. So assert equal, and we are expecting here Himanshu because we are certain that this repository returns Himanshu. Use your result get or null. So arrangement, action, assertion, and this is my stubbing. We are basically write user repository implementation and return back this success case. Execute it. Alright, so test case passed successfully. Now the problem here is if we want to test the failure case, how we can write it? So to write it, first we need to arrange the components again. So for the failure, if we use a stubbing, we need to write one more class that returns result.failure, and which is very bad. If we have 10 different states, to test that states we need to write 10 different implementation for our user repository, which is not feasible. We are writing here unit testing, we are not writing here production level code. So the coding must be minimum. That gives us the big result, that gives us ability to test a huge number of use cases. And stubbing is somehow lags behind. Here we'll use MockK. So MockK says you do not want to write any kind of implementation. You just mock your user repository and return whatever data you want. So now let's start with MockK. I hope the problem is clear with stubbing, and this is the main reason why most people uses MockK over stubbing. But there are few cases where stubbing fits Good. So let's open the libs version toml file. This is the Mockito dependency because Mockito by default doesn't available in your project. You need to include it by adding this dependency. Open your build.gradle.ktjs of your module app level, and at the bottom use test implementation libs test implementation mock. Sync your project, come back to your get username use case unit tests, and now we're gonna write the same test case, but this time I want to use here mock. In the arrangement we need repository. So how we can create with mock? Simply use mock function user repository, and when user call user repository function get username, we want to return something. So with Mockito it's very easy. We can use every repository get username. So what I'm saying here is every time when get username of our repository called, you shall return this result dot success Himanshu. Execute our unit test case and it works. Now for the failure, what you need to do here is just copy, paste here, return failure result when get username is called with mock. Just change it to failure, and instead of passing here name, pass an exception that says error. Now in the assertion we are not expecting here Himanshu. Now we are expecting here, if you look out the message, it's an error. So result exception or null, use its message and convert it in a form of a string. Execute it. As you can see, our test case passed successfully. I hope you got a clear idea what's the main difference between stubbing and mocking. So in stubbing you have always get back the fixed fake data, but with Mockito it is not the case. It is more flexible. You can decide what you want to return. A mock is more powerful. Mock can return fake values. Mock is more flexible. It's on you what you want to return based on specific function executed. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you got the clear picture. What's the difference between stubbing and mocking? What are the advantages we'll receive when we use mock over stubs? So long story short, if you need a fixed fake value, go with stub. If you want to check the behavior of your code base, always use Mockito or mock.